772,000 Americans are homeless. Right now, in the richest country on earth, rent just hit $5,000 a month in Manhattan. Families are getting evicted after 8 years in their homes. 22 states are already in recession. Over 1 million jobs cut this year alone. And the people who promise to fix all this? They're too busy terrorizing communities and settling personal scores to notice the country's on fire. This isn't politics. This is arithmetic, cause and effect. The bills come due, and regular people are paying the price. The folks in this video, they're living it, watching their savings evaporate, losing their homes, getting rifles pointed at them for honking a horn. Welcome back to Mind Mirror. Let's break down the collapse.
Half of the United States is already in a recession. Half. This is going to get so bad so quick.
The month of July, rent rose the fastest that we've seen since 1986. We have now reached the point that rent in Manhattan is $5,000 a month. That's an increase of almost 30% since last year. And brokers are saying this fall, rent is going to get worse in New York City and possibly other cities in the United States. According to Realtor.com, the median rent price in the United States is over $2,000. Middle of nowhere cities in the United States are now charging more than $2,000 in rent. This is not normal. The reason why this is such a big problem long term is because rent inflation is sticky. What that means is even when inflation starts to go down, possibly next year, food prices go down, gas prices go down, that doesn't mean the same thing for housing. Once rent goes up, it rarely comes down.
Cost of living crisis in America is real, and I completely understand why so many people feel inclined to create video content on a platform like TikTok, expressing their disdain for it. Everyone is hurting. Even if you're a high income earner, you're not alone. And it really is no wonder, just given how prices have gone up on just about everything from food to gas in this country. The average cost of a home is $420,000. Most people don't have the ability to afford that, especially with crippling debt, like in the form of student loans, and a myriad of different bills that people just can't seem to get out from underneath of. So it begs the question, what do we do? Where do we go from here? We can't even buy cheap food at McDonald's for $1 anymore. They completely nixed the dollar menu. And what dystopian future are we living in which we have to pay more than $1 for fake food at McDonald's that doesn't even taste any good? So it begs the question, what do we do? And I just can't help but feel like there really is no easy solution.
No easy solution. Finally, someone being honest. Because there isn't one. Not when trade relationships are in ruins, the workforce is being deported, and tariffs are spiking costs on everything. But here's what nobody wants to say out loud. The solution exists. It's just politically toxic. Raise wages to match inflation. Cap rent increases. Tax wealth hoarding. Stop bailing out corporations while families drown. Instead, policies that gut worker protections and spike prices. Then everyone acts shocked when McDonald's costs more than minimum wage buys. The solidarity this person mentions, that's the real answer. But you can't build it when half the country's been convinced their neighbor is the enemy, while landlords and CEOs laugh their way to the bank. We need unity, not the fake nationalism kind. The kind where we actually face who's really causing this mess.
Unfortunately, there are external factors constricting the economy that are out of our control. But what we can do, what we should feel inclined to do, is come together now more than ever before. Reason being is because if we're going to survive, if we're going to ensure our quality of life, we need each other now more than ever. We need some sense of solidarity, and that's something that's been lacking in this country for what seems like the longest time, just given the stark racial, cultural, and socioeconomic divides. And that could be attributed as a result of us having existed in this system that seeks to pit us against each other as competitors, as opposed to being counterparts. We don't even see each other as fellow countrymen and women anymore. And I think it's a real shame, because nowadays you're going to need people and they're going to need you. So it's up to us. Either we stand united or fall divided.
If I was a leasing agent, I would let y'all get away with anything. Like, I would let y'all send me fake pay stubs, fake bank statements, fake VOEs, fake whatever. Like, I would literally let y'all get away with anything, because look, who can afford rent nowadays? Like, for real, who is able to take one of their checks and pay their whole rent? Nobody. So if you send me some fake pay stubs and they look too fake, If they look too fake, I will call you up and I will tell you, hey, I got them pay stubs. They look too fake. I'm going to delete this email. And I'm going to need you to remake them and resend them to me. It's that easy. That easy. Like, can you just pay the rent every month? Like, I don't care if you can afford it. Can you pay it? You can? Okay, like I would let y'all get away with whatever.
This leasing agent just said the quiet part out loud. Who can afford rent? Nobody. She's willing to accept fake documents just so people can have shelter. That's not her being corrupt. That's her recognizing the system's already broken. When median rent is over $2,000 and wages haven't moved in decades, the math doesn't work. It never did. And who profits? Landlords, property investors, the people who bought everything during the last crash and are now bleeding everyone dry. Meanwhile, we've been sold this story about bootstraps and personal responsibility. Cool. Show me the bootstraps that work when rent costs triple your income. This woman sees it every day. Families who work full-time can't qualify for basic housing. That's not a functioning economy. That's a system designed to extract wealth from the bottom and funnel it up.
While we've all been reading the Epstein emails, some very concerning economic news has been reported, and I think we all need to be aware of this. First, in October, U.S. employers announced roughly 153,000 job cuts. That's the highest number of layoffs for the month of October in more than 20 years. And the total job cut announcements so far this year exceed 1.1 million. That's a jump of about 65% over this same period last year. That's not just a belt tightening, folks. That is a labor market warning light flashing. Second, regionally, the picture is even more fractured. The firm Moody's Analytics reported last week that at least 22 U.S. states are already in recession. Those states make up about a third of our GDP. And the third piece of concerning news that was recently released deals with the American Consumer Index. And that is signaling the same distress signs that we're hearing from the other reports. The Consumer Confidence Index edged down in October to 94.6, compared to 109.5 a year ago. Think about it. A year ago, at the election, the economy was a big issue, with everyone saying, oh, they didn't think that the economy was in good shape. And yet, the Consumer Confidence Index was 109.5 this time last year, and it's 94.6 now. The short-term outlooks, income, jobs, business conditions, that fell to 71.5, which traditionally marks a recession. And we have not even yet begun to feel the full effects of the tariffs. Buckle up, folks. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Go love your neighbor.
Job cuts at a 20-year high. Over 1 million layoffs. 22 states in recession. And we haven't even felt the tariffs yet. Let that sink in. The worst is still coming. Trade wars aren't easy to win. Nobody wins. Everybody loses. Workers lose jobs. Families lose homes. Supply chains collapse. Consumer confidence dropped from 109 to 94 in 1 year. That's not just numbers on a screen. That's people losing hope. That's parents lying awake at night wondering how they'll feed their kids next month. Construction and manufacturing, the industries that were supposed to boom, are in full recession. The very people who believed the promises are now filing for unemployment. And here's the kicker. This was predictable. Economists warned about it. History showed us what happens. But ideology won over evidence. Now, we all pay the price. Not just the people who voted for it. Everyone.
Well, it is official. It is official. We have two industries that Moody's top economist from Moody's, says the industries that are in recession currently. Take a guess. I don't know that you'll be surprised. Number 1 is construction. Number 2 is manufacturing. Construction and manufacturing are currently already in a recession. According to the top economist at Moody's, a recession is likely coming due to number 1, tariffs, and number 2, economic uncertainty. Hi, my name's Christina. I do have a master's in business, an MBA, and this post right here was how we are going into a recession 100%. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no stopping this freight train. This freight train of a recession is getting bigger and faster every day. I will remind you that in 1910, when we imposed tariffs on importers who passed it on to U.S. consumers, we went through the Great Depression for 10 years. This is going to be catastrophic. I want to remind you this was all self-imposed by one person.
772,000 homeless. Richest country on earth. More empty homes than homeless people. We have the space. We just choose not to use it. Why? Housing became investment property instead of a human right. Corporations bought everything, and now they'd rather leave buildings empty than lower rent. Where's the federal emergency response? Where's the task force? Nowhere. They're too busy funding raids and building walls while citizens freeze in tents. The same voices screaming about America first watch Americans die on streets and do nothing. Priorities got real clear, didn't they? This isn't policy failure. This is choosing who suffers and who profits.
772,000. That's not a typo. That's how many folks are currently living on the streets in the so-called richest country in the world. And y'all want us to believe this is just the system working? Nah, the system is broken. Broken and broke again. Let's break it down. Homelessness just hit a record high in the U.S. That's an 18% spike from last year alone. And family homelessness up 39%. Families, not just individuals. Moms, dads, kids sleeping in cars, on benches, under bridges. What's causing it? Sky-high rent, stagnant wages. Then you got post-COVID economic chokeholds. And a government that got no problem spending billions overseas but freezes up when it's time to house its own people. And don't get it twisted. This ain't just a bad economy issue. This is a policy failure. No cap. There are more empty homes in America than homeless people. Let that sink in. But instead of tackling housing reform or raising the minimum wage, we're watching politicians bicker like it's a Twitter beef while folks are freezing in tents. This ain't the American dream. This is an American eviction notice. And the wildest part, the media will run this headline and keep it pushing. No national emergency, no federal task force, just another day in the land of get yours or die trying. We need rent control, mental health support, jobs that pay a livable wage, and leaders who actually give a damn. Because homelessness isn't a crime, but letting this continue should be. Follow your boy Crypto Black. See you next time.
No one that works a full-time job should be facing homelessness. And that's what my family is facing right now. Our landlord gave us a 30-day notice to sell our home that we've been in for 8 years. And if you know, we're in a housing crisis right now. And we can't find a home to live in. So after this weekend, that's it. We're going to put everything into a storage unit and be done. And be homeless. Because we cannot find substantial housing, okay? And the issues that we're facing are every single rental property is, oh, you need to make 3 times to 4 times the rent. Come on, that's like unrealistic. The other one is, oh, your credit score needs to be like 700 plus. Again, unrealistic. If I had all that criteria, I would go buy a house. Like, I would not be trying to rent anything right now. And I guess I'm just feeling like very frustrated because there is a big issue in this country and it needs to be fixed. Something needs to be done.
Full-time work, 8 years in the same home, now homeless because the math doesn't work. Make 3 to 4 times the rent, credit score above 700. If people had that, they'd buy. They're not renting by choice. And she's competing with 30 families for one property. They're picking names from a hat. That's not a housing market. That's a lottery where losing means your kids sleep in a car. But listen to what's missing from leadership. No rent control discussion. No wage increase proposals. Nothing about protecting working families. Just culture wars and blaming the wrong people while landlords buy vacation homes. This woman works full-time. Her family's been stable for nearly a decade. And the system's response? Sorry, you're not profitable enough to deserve shelter. That's the American dream in 2025. Work hard, play by the rules, lose anyway.
And on top of that, like, let's talk about how all these rentals are like $1,500 and they're like shitholes. They're not even decent. Nothing is updated in them. Everything is old. So much to the point to where now my family is being resorted to being shoved in a small apartment with our 3 kids, our 2 cats, and our 100-pound German Shepherd. That's a problem because we work full time. We should not be forced into an apartment because we're literally being outbidded by all of these other people at these rental properties. It's like you go to a rental property, you put an application in, and so does 30 other people. And they literally just pick out of a hat who gets the house. It's insane. And something needs to be done.
I bought a house when I was 26 and fell immediately into poverty. Okay, when I lived with my parents, I was living my best luxury lifestyle. I went to South Korea, bought a 2,000 plane ticket, didn't even blink twice. I went shopping, luxury goods, all that. Was traveling, was just, I was living it up. I felt rich. I had no bills. And I had a full-time 9-to-5 job. I was working as a nurse, okay? I was killing it. I bought my own house. That first mortgage payment came in and I was like, oh, this is a situation. But at first you think you can handle it, right? Like, what's a couple thou? What's a couple thou? I got it. But then the pipes in my 80-year-old home broke immediately as soon as I bought the house. Wiped out my savings. Then another pipe in a different area of the house broke. Okay, I'm struggling. Okay, I need help. Then my neighbor's pipe, it was a twin house, her pipe broke. And she didn't believe that her pipe broke, but her pipe broke on my side of the house. So all of that water that was coming down was spraying into my home. And then my water heater broke. When I tell y'all, I went from living in the lap of luxury to destitute immediately. Now, don't get me to fooling y'all, because it was worth it in the long run, because that house is now worth like 2 times what it was worth then. So I'm actually doing pretty good. But at the time, when I tell you I was struggling, I had to go to my parents every other day for dinner.
Bought a house at 26, immediately fell into poverty. That's not personal failure. That's systemic collapse. Living comfortably, traveling, saving money. Then 1 mortgage plus broken pipes and she's wiped out. Eating at her parents' house to survive. She got lucky. Her house doubled in value. But how many others bought at the wrong time and lost everything? Working harder doesn't fix 80-year-old plumbing. Working harder doesn't prevent your neighbor's pipes from flooding your home. When one emergency destroys your entire financial life, that's not capitalism. That's a rigged game where the house always wins and you're not the house.
From the Eastern District of Virginia has just admitted to prosecutorial misconduct in the James Comey case. I'm a lawyer in real life. I don't play one on television. Today is Wednesday, November 19th, and it is approximately 1:53 p.m. I need y'all to stay with me so we can talk about this. So in federal court, there are no cameras. There is no audio. So we have to depend on transcripts, which are not immediately available to the public, and the reports of people in the courtroom. So I'm reading an article in the New York Times about what happened in the courtroom. So let's read it together. I'm not going to read it word for word, but let's talk about this, because what they are saying, in this article, if it is true, Lindsay Halligan needs to immediately resign. This is really beyond the pale that a U.S. attorney would do this. The hearing today was on a motion to dismiss for vindictive prosecution. The Comey team is alleging that he is only being prosecuted because the president wants him prosecuted and he's an enemy of the president. So let me go to the article. So it starts out saying that in an excruciatingly awkward hearing in the federal district court in Alexandria, Virginia, the judge grilled prosecutors on a range of topics, including Mr. Trump's own statements about wanting Mr. Comey to be indicted, and an earlier decision by career members of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Alexandria to forego bringing charges. In one remarkable moment, the judge posed some of his questions directly to Lindsay Halligan, the U.S. attorney, handpicked by Mr. Trump to bring the case, quizzing her on how she had presented it to the grand jury. The judge's inquiries were extraordinary by almost any measure, but the answers prosecutors gave in return were even more so. At one point, Ms. Halligan admitted that she had never shown the second and final version of the Comey indictment to the full grand jury before the foreperson signed the charging document. Mr. Comey's lawyers immediately seized on that irregularity, calling it another reason to dismiss the case entirely. At another point, one of Ms. Halligan's subordinates acknowledged that someone in the Deputy Attorney General's office had instructed him not to discuss whether his predecessors had written a memo laying out their reasons for not bringing charges. In the end, Mr. Lemons, the subordinate, appearing unnerved under questioning, confessed that the prosecutors who had previously handled the case had indeed written a draft of a memo declining prosecution. The judge declined to issue a ruling from the bench on the claims that the case was brought vindictively, but he seemed to be leaning in that direction. Given the other stunning revelations of the day, he could now have more reasons to throw out the charges. The hearing was in many ways a mismatch from the start. The government's team consisted of Ms. Halligan, a former White House aide and personal lawyer to Mr. Trump, who is working on the first criminal case of her career. She was accompanied by Mr. Lemons and another assistant U.S. attorney, Gabriel Diaz, both of whom have experience with criminal proceedings but were brought into the Comey case from a U.S. attorney's office in North Carolina after no one in the Alexandria office would take the job. Speaking for Mr. Comey, by contrast, was Michael R. Dreeben, a former Deputy Solicitor General who has argued more than 100 cases in front of the Supreme Court. Mr. Dreeben all but begged the judge to put an end to what he described as the White House's abuse of the criminal system. This has to stop, he told the judge. This court is the first to confront the issue of whether a message needs to be sent to the executive branch. So now we know Lindsay Halligan lied to the court. She filed a written declaration outlining how the second indictment came about. Based on what we've heard today, what I'm reading, it appears that that was false. James Comey was not validly indicted by a grand jury. The statute of limitations has passed. His indictment should be dismissed, and the Trump administration will not be able to bring these charges against him again. Y'all, this is big.
Wait, let me get this straight. A U.S. attorney with zero criminal case experience brings charges that career prosecutors already declined. She never showed the final indictment to the grand jury. Lied in court filings, subordinates ordered not to discuss previous memos. This isn't prosecution. This is persecution dressed in legal paperwork. Career prosecutors wrote a memo declining charges. People with decades of experience said there's no case, but someone wanted revenge, so procedures got ignored. And if this happens to a former FBI director with resources and top lawyers, what happens to regular people? What happens when federal power gets weaponized against someone who can't fight back? This is the erosion everyone warned about, using courts to punish enemies, ignoring procedures, manufacturing charges. The rule of law doesn't mean anything if it only applies to people without power.
Let me know what you're thinking in the comments.
Who still thinks we're not living in authoritarianism? Watch this video. This just happened in Charlotte, North Carolina this week. This is ICE officers detaining 2 U.S. citizens who are being arrested for honking their horns to warn other people that ICE was in the neighborhood. And it's not just that they're being detained, which in and of itself is illegal. But watch what they do. Watch what they do to this person in the car before they detain them.
He's breaking the window. He's got an assault rifle pointed at her.
Oh my God.
Put the windows down. Put the windows down.
Can you hear them yelling, put the windows down?
I can't.
He's smashing a window.
This is for honking their horn. U.S. citizen. These are women who were trying to warn people that ICE was in the neighborhood. They honked their horn and they got assault rifles pointed in their faces. They tried to smash her window with the butt of a rifle for honking. These guys are not operating with any legal guardrails at all. They are acting with complete impunity. They think that nothing or no one can stop them. It could be you next. It could be someone you love. Get in the fight with us. Fuck ICE. Absolutely. Charlotte, North Carolina, thank you for fighting for your communities. We are with you.
Assault rifles pointed at U.S. citizens for honking their horns. Let that sink in. American citizens trying to warn their neighbors. Windows smashed. Rifles in their faces. This isn't law enforcement. This is state terror. And where's all that don't tread on me energy? Where are the people who swore they'd fight government overreach? Silent. Because the victims don't look right. Students missing school. Businesses closed. Families afraid to leave their houses. Not because of crime. Because federal agents are occupying neighborhoods. This is what authoritarianism looks like in real time. Not history books. Not other countries. Here, now, Charlotte, North Carolina. And if you're not scared, you're not paying attention. Today it's them. Tomorrow it's someone you love. Next week it might be you.
Well, breaking fuck the news. This is probably the wildest headline and article I'm going to read. And I'm going to read this one verbatim. Usually I paraphrase when I read some of these articles. I'm about to read this to you. How it is. The U.S. president's war on women. Who are you calling piggy, Mr. President? Why is it women leading the charge to bring Trump down? Quiet, piggy, is the latest insight into the mind of the U.S. president and what he really thinks of women. His attack on a female reporter on board of Air Force One when she asked him a question about the Epstein files, accompanied by a patronizing finger waggle, joins a line of sexist threats, insults, and diminishing comments which go back as far as his hand. Who wrote this? Hey, this is so random. I've never done this before. Who wrote this article? Who wrote this article? Fuck, they didn't. There's no name. Hey, let me read this line to you guys. What the fuck? Accompanied by a patronizing finger waggle, joins a line of sexist threats and insults and diminishing comments, which go back as far as his hairline. The real problem now, though, isn't what he says, but that it is achingly dull, predictable, and routine. It's not funny or clever. If you're going to roast us, at least be biting and smart. The sexist stick is getting tiring. Isn't it time for old men like Trump to give it up altogether? Because you can't get it up. Who the fuck wrote this? Who wrote this? I need to find who wrote this. I need to find the name of the author of who wrote this article. Holy shit. Why is their name not in the hot? Victoria Richards. Shout out to Victoria fucking Richards. Holy shit. Wow.
Students in Charlotte, North Carolina were absent from school on Monday. This is all linked to the ICE raids that took place and are still taking place in Charlotte and in the surrounding areas. These numbers are coming from two different school districts, and this comes at the same time as Operation Charlotte's Web is once again continuing, as ICE agents are going essentially shop to shop, arresting anyone who they think is illegally here. Besides those who didn't go to school, those who did decided to walk out in protests. As they say, they're doing this because they're against what's happening in their communities, and right now parents are saying, well, this is the only way that kids can actually be heard. And I can't express to you how much panic is happening, to the point to where restaurants and stores aren't opening, people are not leaving their house, people are not showing up for school. ICE agents were making their way, by the way, over to Raleigh, in which they have now shifted back to Charlotte after sparking fear and protests in the area. It's sad because now we're living in a world in which dark-skinned folks are scared to go outside because they're worried they're going to be arrested even if they're U.S. citizens. I'll be sure to keep you guys updated, so please do share.
Empty schools, closed businesses, U.S. citizens afraid to go outside because of their skin color. This is America, right now, not hypothetical. And for everyone who thought it won't affect me, how's that playing out? Rent's crushing you, jobs are gone, savings worthless, federal agents terrorizing entire communities. This is the trade. You wanted certain people punished. Now everyone's paying. Economic collapse. civil rights violations, a government treating citizens like enemy combatants. It gets worse from here. Tariffs haven't fully hit. Deportations are ramping up. The revenge list is growing. To everyone finally waking up, welcome. Better late than never. To everyone still defending this, history's watching. So what did we learn? That economics isn't political, it's math. And when the numbers don't add up, reality catches up fast. We learned that authoritarianism doesn't announce itself with tanks. It shows up as federal raids, court corruption, and families in tents, while empty houses sit vacant. We learned you can't destroy trade relationships, deport your workforce, and spike inflation, then act shocked when everything collapses. The people in this video are living proof. Working families losing homes, communities under occupation, justice weaponized for revenge. This isn't the America anyone wanted, except the people profiting off the chaos. Here's what matters now. Solidarity. Real solidarity. Not the performative kind. The kind where we recognize we're all getting squeezed by the same system while FX whiting each other over crumbs. Pay attention. Get involved. Support your community. And remember every detail when someone tries convincing you this is normal. Because it's not normal. It's a choice. And it only stops when we stop it. Drop a comment. Share this. Subscribe if you want to keep tracking this collapse. This has been Mind Mirror. Stay awake.